Hey y'all, welcome to Chatting with Beauty Spot. I am Beauty Spot. Today we will be discussing Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 9, where they all do their special dates. And you guys, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much. This episode was a trip. So, we'll just jump right in. Noy wants to do, well, it starts with Katina outside the grocery store saying, I'm about to go grocery shopping. She said, up until now, I've only shopped for me, and I don't really know how to shop for a husband and a household. She's like, because I ate out all the time. Now, you know, she's a food blogger. She don't know what she's doing. So she's hoping that Elijah Wan is happy, because it seems like Elijah Wan is not happy about much. Anyway, they all do these special dates. Noy does a little scavenger hunt in the park for Steve. It was real cute. He went around and picked up the clues and everything and eventually found her swinging on the swings or whatever. Now we go to Lindsay and Mark. They just walking around the house like, how are you? How was your day? Yada, yada, yada. Lindsay is talking about she believes she's owed an apology. Now, if y'all remember, like I remember last week when Lindsay was in that bowling alley talking about Mark only makes $60,000 a year signing up gym memberships, and his balls are small and he don't even make me come, and she was saying all of that hella loud in the bathroom. But now she said she is the one waiting for the apology. She ain't about to get one. She was the one that did all the wrong. And they walking around being goofy talking about work. Mark is scared to confront her because he knows she cuts deep and it don't take much to set Lindsay off. And he's just trying to avoid all that confrontation. But baby, I would have to tell her about herself. Lindsay would have got all the way cussed out. And she better be lucky that Mark has not seen the footage of her telling all his business in that bathroom hella loud. Because I don't think he heard her. He can hear her yelling, but he didn't know what she was saying. And she talking about, I put on a hazmat suit to go into that roach infested house. Now they went in there for bed bugs. He ain't say nothing about having roaches, but she just gonna put roaches on out there. She was wrong as two left shoes. She was wrong as hell last week. And she seems to think it's all Mark's fault. And she asked him, what do you like about me? And he was saying, you know, that she was caring and yada, 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 all the stuff. But he said their style of communication needs to be better and they need to better understand each other or it won't work. Now we go to Jasmina and Michael. And it shows Michael in there, you know, he's preparing all these gifts for Jasmina's dog. And, you know, they go out and she opens the gift. She's thinking, oh, I got some gifts. And she's like, oh, these are for the dog. She said, that's better anyway. It makes her feel better that he was buying her gifts for the dog. And he was like, I need to be closer to your dog and all that, which was nice. And he's sitting here. Now, he's trying to have an intelligent conversation. And she says that she does not like the tone that he uses when he talks to her. Sometimes she had mentioned this before and said he was yelling at her and all this other stuff. Now, after this conversation, I do not believe a word she had to say about that. But he asked her what was the best way to communicate with her. And she says, I just want you to talk to me. And he said, but when I talk to you, you said it's the wrong tone. She was like, don't use the tone. Just talk. So she wants him to be a robot, not use any emotion or inflection in his voice when he talks. She wouldn't be able to stand me because I'm all over the place when I'm talking to somebody. She's like, and he's like, that is not making sense to me because you're telling me. And she was like, I mean, you don't know how to have a conversation. You don't know how to just talk. And he's like, we grew up different. Your style of communicating and my style of communicating are different. People's styles are different based on how they grew up. My family is loud as hell. Loud as hell. And so, you get together and somebody slapping a card down on the table talking domino, mother, father, bam. She might cry if she in a situation like that because according to her, you should only be saying domino. Period. No inflation, no inflection, no emotion, no nothing. Just domino. And but she didn't get it, and she doesn't get it, and I don't think she will get it. Now we go to Katina and Olajuwon. Now it shows them they had an argument right after the housewarming, and he was pissed because Katina would not help him clean the house after. According to him, he was like, he liked his house clean before he goes to bed. She was tired after the housewarming. So she was like, I'll sweep half the floor. And he got pissed. He said he's bothered by her effort. And if something happens to her, he wants to make sure that she'll be able to handle everything, and he's just not getting that right now. She offered to help clean up half the stuff, and he was like, no, why don't you just go to bed? And she went to bed, and he got pissed about it. He was being real silly this episode. So then the experts send them these questions to ask each other, like, have you ever been in love? Or what made you fall in love? And do you think you can get there again or whatever? And Noi told Steve that she's been in love once. He said he'd been in love at least 5 times. And she was shocked. And she was like wondering, like, you've been in love all these times and he won't tell me he loves me. I'm like, darling, you guys have been together not even a whole month now. Katina and O. They go and start answering these questions or whatever. And he asked her to answer first. And she was like, she was been in love before. And he was like, he thinks he has her, something like that. And she was like, do you see yourself falling in love in this relationship? And he basically said, love is off the table because my expectations of you are not being met. Or something or another. I mean, he was real, and he was like, you don't even cry. And she was like, I cry. He's like, you didn't cry at the wedding. You didn't cry at the reception. You didn't cry at the honeymoon. What was she supposed to cry for at the reception and the honeymoon? What was she supposed to cry for? But she lets him know that she had previously been in an abusive relationship. And when she would cry, he would call her a weak bee and just tear her down. So she vowed to herself that she wouldn't be just crying all willy-nilly because of the abuse that she suffered through previously. And it's like he didn't even really care. And he was like, and she told him she knows she guarded. And she knows that she needs to be less guarded and she needs to contribute more as far as the cooking and the cleaning. And he's basically, I think in his mind, was like, oh, I'm going to get you to cry, sis. I'm going to get you to cry. Then it jumps to Jasmina and Mike. She told him that she's been in love 3 and a possible times. And he said he's been in love 1 and a possible. And that possible was high school, because he don't really know if that was love. He was little. He was young. And he knows that he needs to be able to be more vulnerable. And that vulnerability leads him to falling in love with the person. And she was like, do you feel yourself? Can you be vulnerable with me? And he said, you know, I vowed that doing this, being married at first sight, that I was going to be open from the beginning. And she's like, well, he says he was going to be open and vulnerable from the beginning, but he hasn't been. Well, girl, you don't make him comfortable. You're constantly harping on him about the way he speaks and his tone, and you don't like for anybody to use any kind of tone. Why would he be comfortable enough to open up his deepest, darkest hurts and everything that's gone on in his past and his hopes and dreams? I wouldn't be talking to you either. Lindsay and Mark. You know, they both said that they've been in love before. Mark is letting her know that it takes time to build a foundation, and they need a foundation, and he needs time. And he had also let her know that if he had previously dated someone and they were cool, not everything was cool, and they ended up breaking up, and he got with somebody else, and she wasn't as good as the ex, he would break up with the new person and go back to the ex. You know, of course, that worried her. And she was saying that she wants somebody that will always stand up for her. I honestly believe that if Lindsay and Mark went to a bar or whatever, and they were having drinks, and you know, she always talks out of turn and talks to the wrong people, she could say something off to somebody, another man or whatever, because she steps out of line. Now, a real grown man ain't gonna check her. They gonna check her husband. Mark is not trying to get his behind kicked because Lindsay can't shut her mouth. And that's all he wants, is for her to shut up and think before she speaks. Just shut your behind up. And she says she wants somebody that will always stand up for her. He is not about to get his butt kicked behind you, darling. Ugh. So the fellas all go on a trip. They all go out on like a dude's night out or whatever. And they go like shooting arrows at each other, whatever. Then they sit down and talk. And Olajuwon is telling the guys that he is struggling with Katina's effort. And the fact that he does not feel like she is doing enough. And it is frustrating him. And then each of the guys tells their story of what they've been dealing with, the challenges that they are facing in their new marriages. And the women do the same. They all go to the spa, and Lindsay asks, you know, what are some of the things that you are facing? And Katina was like, oh, I'm glad you asked. And she starts going off about Olajuwon and all the stuff that he is expecting of her. And, you know, basically Olajuwon was being a big bully. Now, I have a question. Lindsay and Mark go to Sushi. This man has never had sushi before. I think it was last week. Last week she had mentioned Mark had his first taco. What did this man used to eat besides goldfish? Was it just burgers and fries and goldfish? You had never had a taco in America? Even in Boston, you're going to find you some tacos. You never had sushi. Now, sushi I could believe more than a taco, but what this man just don't, his palate is just shrunk. He needs to widen that sucker up. But he goes to have sushi with Lindsay for the first time. Jasmina plans a workout date at the house. She does not work out, but she knows Mike does. And you know, they're doing all these different like challenges, little fun stuff, because she don't work out. So she was making some stuff up. And they finally get to stretching, and she asks him about opening up, if he feels comfortable opening up about something that he has dealt with. And he starts to tell her about when he was about 7 and his older brother, who worked at a fast food restaurant at night, he was walking home and he got shot. And I guess he was close to the house. And I mean, him telling this story, and he was choking up and crying and breaking down. And I'll give it to her. I mean, she was being there and letting him get his story out. And like she said on the after party, that she wanted to cry so bad, but she held back her tears because she felt that if she would cry, he would bottle it all up. So she wanted him to get his story out about him seeing his brother shot and his aunt trying to hide it from him because little kids shouldn't see that, and all this other stuff. Yeah, it was so sad. Steve plans a little picnic for him and Noy, and you know, he ends up telling her he loves her. And she was like, you do? Oh my gosh. She's so happy because she told him after day 3 that she loved him. And he was like, well, that's nice to know, but it's been 3 days, you know. So he was like, give me at least 3 weeks. And I guess 3 weeks goes by real fast when you with that person 24/7. You know what I'm saying? And that seems like a whole lot more time than me dating somebody for 3 weeks. But if you are married and living with somebody and y'all are together 24/7, and you know he's a contractor, he don't have no full-time job, and she works from home, so I mean they are together. So now Elijah takes Katina to some like cooking class where they get to cook coconut shrimp and make salmon. And, you know, he hovering over her, making sure she doing everything right. And he's like, can you handle this? You think you can handle this? And yada, yada, yada. And they sit down, and he's telling her, he is telling her that he is questioning if she's ready to be a wife. And he doesn't think that she has applied enough. He doesn't think that she applied enough to the housewarming. And she was like, what are you talking about? He was like, you had your friends pick up this and you had me pick up the chicken. And she was like, I was at home. I was decorating. Yes, I put a call in to my friends so they could pick up such and such. Man, please. If you know how many times I did that, if I'm throwing a party for my son, and I call my mama or call my best friend and be like, look, can you pick up the cake? It'll be ready at 3 o'clock. Can you pick that up on your way over here? And call my mama like, mama, you gonna bring that chicken? Please. She had it handled. I don't know what else he wanted from her to handle. He wanted her out running around, and all he did was go get the damn chicken. And so he was harping on her, and she finally said, you know what, I need a break. And he was like, but he didn't stop. He kept going. And finally, he had the girl like patting down her wig. You know, that girl that had that same wig on since the beginning of the season. She patting her wig. He done made her cry. He done finally made her cry when she got up and walked away and went to go talk to the producers. I'm like, he was being verbally abusive to her. He does not think that she is prepared as a woman. And he does not believe that she is prepared to be a wife. And he just harping on her and what's supposed to be like a little romantic getaway date. And you sitting up here going off on her because she didn't contribute enough. He said to my housewarming, first of all, it's y'all's housewarming. And if she wants to delegate who does what, it's not her fault that you want to leave the house and run and go get the chicken and get mad at her because she didn't go running around picking up this and picking up that. Like, dude, come on. He was off the hook this week. I really wanted to cuss him out. I was cussing him out in my head a little bit. But yeah, he was the villain this week. Elijah Wan was on something. And if I was her, I'm bouncing. Because now, dude knows that you previously been in an abusive relationship and he just gonna, let's keep the party going. And he knows that you're doing all that you can to try to be the wife that he wants you to be. You didn't cook before like that. You always went out. So now you cooking. You trying to cook more. And he mad because you done made spaghetti and garlic bread. He wants salmon and this and that. Okay, he make breakfast. But like, give her a chance. The girl don't even know a whole bunch of recipes. Let her get on YouTube and do some learning before you sit up here and harp on her. She don't know. She went out to restaurants and took pictures of her food and posted on the gram. So leave her alone. Ooh, I want to cuss him out. Ooh, I do. Ooh, I do. Whew. But anyway, y'all, that was the end of this episode. We will see how it picks up next episode, Married at First Sight. And with that said, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.